My name is Abdelrahim. I'm a software engineer at CodeThink, and I'll be presenting about shipping Flatpak apps in an image-based system. So I'm a member of the GNOME release team. I'm a GNOME contributor for quite a long time, a member of the GNOME release team since 2018, and a GNOME OS maintainer. Who here knows what GNOME OS is? OK. So most of for those who don't know, GNOME OS, I'll get to it. So I'm also a software engineer at CodeThink. So we're talking about shipping Flatpak apps in GNOME OS. I think everybody knows Flatpak at this point. So it's a distro-agnostic way to distribute desktop applications. So it also offers advantages such as sandboxing. And it's particularly useful for image-based systems, as it doesn't install anything in the user tree. So everything is in var and can be added and removed, even if the main system is immutable. So GNOME OS is GNOME's development, testing, and QA operating system. I'm running it right now. So I'm running the latest version of all GNOME applications, right from the main branch. It's maybe a few days old. My update is a few days old, but yeah, it gets updated twice a day when we have enough CI resources, which are not. Well, we build everything. It's not always possible to finish the build in under 12 hours, but when we do, we can have 2 new builds every day. It's an image-based system that tries to fully embrace the systemd ecosystem. So we used to be based on OS3 at the beginning, especially as it was a continuation or a successor to GNOME Continuous, which is where OS3 was born. But yeah, and then last year, well, mostly 2 years ago at systemd, just after all systems go, there was Valentin hacked the new sys update-based GNOME OS, and yeah, the rest is history. Now we're fully embracing the systemd ecosystem. We're no longer based on OS3, so we're using systemd sys update for updates and other systemd utilities. So crypt and roll, PCL log, all that stuff. Systemd repart to create the root partition on first boot, etc. Yeah. Now, the applications themselves. So right now, all the applications, the GNOME core applications, are installed on the system applications. They're not Flatpaks. So that's what would the default installation of a traditional distro would look like. You have all the applications on the host, and you can just run them. We want to build the nightly Flatpak applications from the same source that we're building GNOME OS. So it would be nice for the GNOME release team to be able to release the nightly apps. So since we are building things nightly or even twice a day, every day, it would be nice to be able to ship those, to build the Flatpak applications from the same source. I'll take this opportunity to talk quickly about BuildStream. BuildStream is the tool that we're using. So it allows us to build everything at once and save time by caching things very reliably, unlike something like Yocto or I forgot the other one. Yeah. And we have our users who have been asking for, well, I say users, but they're mostly early adopters, because it's not really a usable system that anyone should be able to use. We'd like to go there, but for now it's more for GNOME developers, for people who are interested in in reporting issues and maybe even contributing fixes. So we tend to have more power users in our user base, but still, so they prefer to use Flatpak for various reasons, and we can go into that. So how would that work? How would we pre-install the Flatpak applications? The first thing is, what does that mean? So when different people ask about using Flatpak, so if we want to use Flatpak for our apps, what does that mean in practice? Flatpak offers a few benefits. Do we want all of them? Do we need all of them? Or is it okay to have a compromise, something in the middle? So the first thing is sandboxing. People want Flatpak app because it's sandboxed, which is good for security. Running the same applications as what's available from FlatHub or GNOME Nightly in our case, but we have a stable branch that we could do the same. Once we have this working for GNOME Nightly, we could do it for FlatHub as well. Being able to uninstall an app. So if it's not in the system, in the immutable system, it's a Flatpak, we can remove it, either to save space or to get it out of the way. It no longer appears in the app grid, in open with dialogues, things like that. So these, you could consider them already as two separate things. Uninstalling an app to save space, and uninstalling an app to get it out of the way. Being able to update the apps independently from the system. So the system, this is probably not an issue for GNOME OS, since we're trying to build things nightly, but it could be useful for a future stable branch where we don't update very often. So it could be nice that a Flatpak application gets a security fix that you want to install independently of the system, even if the system is updated like once a month or once every 6 weeks, which is the cadence of the GNOME stable releases. There are other things to consider. So if these applications are pre-installed by the system, what does happen when we update the system? When we get a new version that changes the list of default apps? So recently we have dropped events as the PDF viewer and added papers instead. So how do you keep the people updated? So how to get the people switch it when they update? And if someone already has uninstalled events or installed papers, how does that work with the new version of the system? Factory reset. So if we want to start with a clean slate, we want to have our pre-installed apps back. So we want to go to a clean system without reinstalling. And offline installation. So we don't want the system to be downloading things from the internet on the first boot, especially if it's hidden. So in this case, you will have to make it very visible that you're downloading apps. Though I think I noticed Windows does it with the app icons that keep popping in the start menu after first install. It also does a lot of other not very nice things on the first boot. So yeah, Windows is not a reference. So we have other specific constraints for GNOME OS that might not all apply to other systems, depending on how they work. The first thing is that user is read-only. That's an image-based system for you. So yeah, that might be shared by a lot of other systems. It might not be an issue for everyone, as a traditional distro might want to pre-install Flatpak apps, like I think Fedora does. But something to keep in mind for our use case. The other thing is that we don't want to have a lengthy install process. So we want to be able to flash an image to the disk and start with it. Though we do recently have an installer, which you'll hear about in the next talk. But we want to be able to just flash it to the disk and boot from it. Or in the case of the installer itself, our installer is now a live image. So we want to be able to use the image live before installing. And yeah, the /var is created on the first boot. So the root file system does not exist by default. It's created during the first boot with the systemd repart. And it's a bit different for the live install. But we want to be able to but it's created on the first boot for install. It's just that it's you'll learn about all the details in the next talk. So what others are doing? So we're not the first ones to think about it. I already talked about Fedora wanting to install Flatpaks by default. So there is this curious distribution that's called AN Desktop. It has a very few apps in the default installation, so just files, so Nautilus, settings, disks, and settings. So just the terminal, so like 4 or 5 apps. And it's pre-configured to install the apps, all the apps from FlatHub. So it's good because it ticks all the boxes for power users. So I can add apps, install apps, I can uninstall them, I can do everything, but it's not great for someone who just installs it and wants to get the system up and running. So granted, a recent version, so when I tried it like last year, that was the case. You had a very bare bones install, and you had to install the apps that you need. Now they offer to install apps on the first boot, so things like the browser, the text editor, things like that. But that will take time because it has to download them from the internet. And it wouldn't work for an offline installation. But yeah, it's a neat idea. Another one is Endless OS, and they have a long history of trying to fix this in multiple ways. I haven't dug too much into the history, but yeah. At first, so it's an OS3-based system. At first, they used, before FlatHub even existed, they had tried to use the same repository for the Flatpak apps and the system to try to share things, so to save space, because they used their own system as the runtime. But then, when they stopped relying on their own runtime and switched to FlatHub, to the free desktop SDK runtime, and GNOME runtime and other things, it didn't make sense for saving space, and it had other issues. Yeah, they have a service that runs on every boot to keep the list of apps, the default apps in sync. I haven't dug too deep into that, but yeah, they tried to fix this. They have some legacy, some legacy stuff, things that didn't work and they had to work around them and things like that. But another note is that the next version of Endless OS is going to be based on GNOME OS rather than Debian. It's still going to be OS3, but it's going to be based on GNOME OS and built with the same tools. So whatever we do here might benefit the newer version of Endless. Yeah, another one is Universal Blue. Since they also have their own implementation of services that tries to keep things in sync. I haven't looked at it either, but yeah, whenever you install it, this is based on bootc so it's a kind of container-based, bootable container-based thing. But yeah, they have a bunch of Flatpak apps pre-installed. I don't know exactly how they do it, but yeah, they have their own implementation. So what are other ideas? What are other things that we could do? So one probably simple thing that one might think of, and many of those, I think at least Endless were doing this, is to pre-install the apps in var. So you have the apps already pre-installed when you in the system, and you just copy everything to the at install time. So these are all Flatpak apps, as in you can they are sandboxed. You can uninstall them. You can update them independently from the system. Everything that people expect from Flatpak apps. So it's similar to the solution of Aeon Desktop, except that you get them from the beginning, so you don't have to download them. But it doesn't really help with the other considerations that we have. So if we want factory reset, as in removing everything in var and etc., where are you going to get these apps from? So you can't go back to the system list of default apps. Yeah, you could. Do you know about the sideload repos in Flatpak? So no. So it's a way to have Flatpaks be able to copy them onto a USB disk and then go and install them on a system that doesn't have an internet connection. So that was the original intent for these sideload repos. So you can have a Flatpak make USB, if I remember correctly, and pass it to give it the mount point of the USB stick. It will copy the apps there, and you can go to the other system, mark these. Well, depending on the system, it might recognize it automatically, but you can also pass it to the Flatpak command line and install from there rather than from the internet, especially if you don't have internet. So you can have this sideload repository in user, and then install these apps on the first boot. So that might be a bit slow, as it copies them to the var partition, but not as slow as getting them from the internet. The content will be duplicated between user and var, especially if user is a separate partition. That is the case with us in GNOME OS, where we're using the AB partition system. So we have it already in user, and we copy it into var, which is the disk, part of the root file system. So it reduces the space available to the user. We could have a Flatpak installation. So Flatpak, by default, has two installations: the user installation that you get when you install with --user, and the system install. But you could have also other installations and configure Flatpak to look at them. So, but this installation, since it's in user, it would be read-only. The good thing is that they will be updated as part of the system. As just we are updating the user tree, we get them updated. And yeah, we might be able to get this to work, but we need a way to be able to hide the apps so that when you uninstall them or something like disable from Android, so you could disable the app without actually removing it from the disk. It's still there, but it won't show up anywhere. Something also that happened recently, it got merged like about a month ago. So Flatpak itself gained a new way to pre-install apps. So you have a pre-install.d drop-in directory in etc and in user share Flatpak, where you can drop configuration files to say, install this app. And there is then a Flatpak pre-install command, which looks at all these files and does the changes. So we can use it both in the pre-install the apps into var scenario, where you just prepare your image with these drop-in files and then run Flatpak pre-install on the image before shipping it, so that you have all the apps already in var. Or it can be run on first boot, but again, it will need to download things from the internet, or possibly we could have the sideload repository on the same, on the user tree, so just copies from there. But yeah, so this is something very new. It was merged like a month ago, and I think it's not used anywhere yet. Another idea, and this might sound a bit different, as it doesn't always tick the boxes of what people think of as Flatpak apps, but we could run the system installed apps. So we have these apps that are installed on the system and run them in the Flatpak sandbox. So we get the sandboxing, we get a bunch of other features like getting them updated with the system. So they are always up to date. So we need to figure out a new configuration format so that we can tell Flatpak how to sandbox an app. So for each app, we could have a configuration that this is how you run this app, these are the permissions that it needs, and things like that. Yeah, and we also need to combine it with a way to hide the apps, because these apps are already installed on the system. So we need a way to hide the apps from the upgrade, from the open with, things like that. And also probably we need a way to make sure that people don't run it unsandboxed by mistake. So if it's just in user bin, you just open a terminal and type, I don't know, Nautilus or Epiphany, it will run the app unsandboxed. That's probably not what we want if the apps are flat-packed in a way by default. So that's all for me. Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to open a discussion on any other ideas or combination of these ideas of what we could do to solve this problem. Well, questions or suggestions or any other ideas? Yeah.
Not really a question, but more of a, let's throw in another system that has the same problem, which is KDE Linux. Mm-hmm. So I just looked at what we are doing there, and it's basically the sideload repo in user approach, and then at installation time we install that to var. And for the live system, we just bind mount that part of user into var. So it seems to work.
Yeah, it's pretty clever, yeah.
I can fill in the blank on uBlue or other Fedora Atomic. They have a plugin in their installer in Anaconda that at install time will just, their ISO has like a, I don't know, it's a partition or something with the Flatpak installation there, and they just copy that out into var at install time, and then they don't have factory reset or something like that, so that's not a concern.
More questions or comments?
You mentioned an approach where you would run Flatpak on system software.
Mm-hmm.
Would that basically be like if I ran bubble wrap in isolation, but only with a Flatpak-y syntax around it?
Yeah, that would be essentially it. Yeah. So probably you could have the Flatpak extensions. So if you have the codex extension, you can mount it as well. But yeah,
yeah, but that I don't think that's a viable approach for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, we do not get to update the applications independent of the system, which is one of the goals of splitting them. Then we have to keep the permissions in sync with applications. Then the applications are generally tested against the Flatpak runtime, not the whatever will be on the host. So QA goes out of the window as well. And then there's like all the other things with like what are extensions and it might or might not exist and all that. Yeah. So yeah, out of the options, I think that's like the least viable one. So.
Well, when running this against the host, they're already built against the host, so it's not really a matter of. So it's true that we would have to maintain two different ways to run an app Flatpak, one against the runtime, the Flatpak runtime, and one against the host system. Yeah, that's also a.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.